Dr. Rosen, you are credited with being the chief inventor of the SYNCOM satellite. What would you consider to be the key ideas that started the SYNCOM project?
The major problems in the design of a synchronous communication satellite are providing the means for keeping the antenna pattern continuously aimed at the Earth and providing for orbit control. It occurred to me that by retaining a spin-stabilized configuration, both of these problems could be simplified. Thus, the spin could be used to aim a pancake antenna pattern at the Earth, and it could also be used to provide for a simple orbit control mechanism. Thus, a single jet could be used to either increase or decrease the period of the orbit by properly timing the impulses. These were the key ideas from which the SYNCOM concept has evolved.
Although many experimental satellites were using a spin configuration, no one at that time was using a controllable spinning satellite. Rosen and his team used spin phase impulses to control the satellite, timing the impulses to get thrust in any direction they wanted.
The scheme worked out by Rosen and his small team of scientists was essentially this. Gyroscopic spin imparted by the booster rocket would hold the satellite in a fixed attitude in space.
Shortly after arriving at Hughes, Rosen met scientist Tom Hudspeth, and the pair, teaming up with colleague Don Williams, set out to change the world, and change it they did. The trio focused their attention on the then infant technology of communication satellites. International communications were poor at the time. Transoceanic television was impossible, and international phone calls were very expensive. Communication satellites of the day used low Earth orbits and required huge swiveling ground antennas and expensive tracking computers to stay in contact with them during the brief periods that the spacecraft raced overhead. In contrast, Rosen believed that a synchronous satellite could communicate directly and continuously with any ground station in its line of sight using fixed antennas. The synchronous design completely eliminated the need for complex tracking stations.
Three young engineers at Hughes Aircraft were working on a bold new project, an actual demonstration of Arthur Clarke's idea for a geosynchronous radio relay system.
Pioneering new technical frontiers, they had many unique problems to solve, especially the attitude control system and, of course, the radio relay itself. Hughes began research on this satellite design without government sponsorship, an expensive gamble.
A prototype was completed and demonstrated on top of the Eiffel Tower in 1961 during the Paris Air Show. Skeptics at the time predicted it would never get any higher off the ground.
A mover and a shaker himself, Rosen also inspires others to action. Seeing a world of possibilities in every challenge, Rosen has 54 patents to his credit and is the author of more than 20 technical publications.
Well, our late friend Don Williams, who contributed mightily to the attitude, determination, and control system, as well as all the analyses that went into the program, and my friend and colleague Tom Hudspeth, who designed the lightweight communication repeater that was essential for it.
Well, Tom, you obviously have a lot of input in this. What do you think was one of your real things that really helped this project? What do you think was the best thing you did?
This thing, let's see. I have to think about that. Well, I guess getting the communications and telemetry and command electronics together and getting it all to work. I don't know, maybe it was just being a big booster and a cheerleader.
Tom's being too modest.
1 second. I mean, you mentioned the traveling wave thing. Were there other problems in terms of attitude, orbit control, this kind of stuff?
Well, in terms of the attitude and orbit control, the idea there was to make it simple enough and reliable enough to do the mission. And there we had a big start on that by using a spinning configuration because it simplified a lot of the elements. And with that, I mentioned earlier, we used spin-phased impulses to control the orbit. And Don Williams contributed quite a bit to the successful design of that part of the system.
That's terrific. I guess the other thing is, now, obviously, you went ahead, you did a show, and you demonstrated. Can you tell me what that demonstration was like? Were you confident it was all going to work well?
Well, I was confident because I brought Tom along. And at the Paris Air Show itself, we actually had it set up in a booth and transmitted television pictures over it of passers-by and gave them Polaroid mementos of that event, and it turned out to be a very popular attraction. And subsequently, we took it up to the Eiffel Tower and had a demonstration from there. And at that time, Tom and I were able to carry the thing. It was light enough. I don't think we could do that with some of our present satellites.
Okay, then it became new ideas.
Well, no, NASA, when it became a NASA program, we were able to use a somewhat larger booster that NASA had been developing, larger than the one for which we developed this particular model. As a result of that, we had a little more weight available. We added redundancy, which NASA likes, and we also had to change the frequencies of the communication systems. But the basic principles, the basic concept remained the same. It was a spinning configuration with spin-phased impulses, had lightweight communication repeater, and traveling wave tube transmitter. SYNCOM for synchronous communications. NASA gave it that name. I think it was Al Jones actually who named it.
Okay, terrific.
Oh yeah, that was a wonderful feeling. We knew we'd reached new ground, and this was going to mean remarkable things for communications.
We're live for transmission of the Olympic opening games, opening ceremonies.
Oh yes, I was at the studios here in town when they came over, and they were beautiful, and that was a wonderful experience also.
Tell them how long those things lasted, Harold. How long they were in service, usable.
The satellites?
Uh-huh.
I don't remember. Years and years, but I don't remember how many. Do you?
I know it was well past 10 years.
What did they design? What was their lifetime at the time?
Well, I think we all would have been happy with 1 year, and I don't think NASA was expecting that much. But
I heard him predict 6 months. No,
Yeah.
no, it was 1 month. That was it. When I heard 1 month.
Did you think about where this was going to lead? Did you have any visions of how the communications business would dynamically grow to the rate it's grown in just 25 years?
Tom, what do you think? What were your views?
I can't remember what happened after that.
Well, just a little while ago you said you thought it was going to go far, but you didn't know exactly where.
Yeah, but it seemed like there wasn't anything for a while.
As far as what I thought, I thought it was certainly going to accomplish great things, but I didn't think that the effective radiated power would increase by a factor of 1 million in 25 years. But
Explain what is what on this.
yeah, I'd like to point this out, which is a V-beam sun sensor that was part of the attitude determination system that Don Williams developed for the satellite. This is a communication antenna that provided an antenna beam pattern that encompassed the Earth as the satellite spun. And this is one of the 2 thrusters used for orbit and attitude control. This one's used for orbit control only. And these, of course, are the solar cells that provide the electrical power. The other attitude control thrusters over here. apogee motor's not part of this.
Antenna.
Yeah, but Tom worked on this. He developed the antenna for this model.
We explain how that works, why it should be spinning.
Well, we achieved a lot of advantages from the spin. One was it stabilized the attitude in the short term. It made the orbit and attitude control systems very simple because we could get by with just 2 thrusters to do the whole job instead of a large number that would otherwise be required. It also provided a benign thermal environment for all the components inside because it averaged out there wasn't a hot side and a cold side that you get if you're not spinning.
And this is now the same idea that is used on big satellites?
Well, we used it for 25 years. We're now going to a much bigger satellite where it's no longer economical to use a spinning solar panel, so we have a large sun-oriented solar panel. But it's only in the last year that we've gone to that. I think it's very important if the United States is going to continue to be a world leader in technology for companies to be able to take risks once in a while. And
there was no future in communication satellites, anything like that?
well, in our efforts to sell it domestically, we went to a lot of government agencies and a lot of communications companies, and we got turned down by a lot of people. And they were generally polite turndowns. They tell us they like this, that, and the other thing about the proposition. However, the letter always had that paragraph starting, however, and that was a clue that it wasn't going to be accepted.
There was one that was a little bit more direct than that, wasn't there? It said, "Don't rock the boat."
Oh, yes. That was at Fort Monmouth. Yeah, they had plans of their own, and they said, "We're going to do it this way. Don't rock our boat." Don't degrade as fast. And the way I could, the mnemonic I use is that P on N sounds like P on N.
Okay, if you could point out that, Rosen.
That's cool.
Yeah, if you could point out the big one there. Yeah.
There's our new satellite.
Okay, you can drop your hand now. That's it.
For a few
They
feet.
did a small flight. It was disastrous.
We had a little test accident there that one time.
When did you first get the idea for a communication satellite?
Well, that occurred to me when one of the radar projects that Tom and I were working on was suddenly canceled. The present downturn in the defense industry we're going through isn't the first time that's happened. It's happened over and over again. And back in 1959, we lost a major program. And my boss, Frank Carver, asked me to think of ways to diversify. And of course, the Russian Sputnik had been launched just a little over a year earlier, and space was on everyone's mind, including mine. And I started thinking of how we could apply our technology to space, and I did some reading, and pretty soon it appeared that communication satellites would be the way to go if we could get one that would work. And particularly the geostationary communication satellite had the most appeal to me.
What was the greatest engineering obstacles that you had to overcome in order to get SYNCOM going?
Well, I wouldn't call them engineering obstacles. I mean, the concept we had. Well, let me say a little bit about the geostationary satellites. They had been described quite a few years earlier by my friend Arthur. He's now my friend, Arthur Clarke. But in 1959, they were considered to be impractical, at least for the near term. They were considered too heavy to be launched, and even if they could be launched by the existing rockets, they were too complicated to last long enough to be commercially attractive. And I guess you might call those obstacles, although there was relatively straightforward ways around those obstacles. One was to make it small and light so it could go on the existing boosters. And the second was to make it simple enough that you could achieve the reliability required for commercial operations. Mm-hmm. And the configuration we came up with achieved those objectives. And one of the things was to use a spinning configuration, which greatly simplified the control system and improved the thermal environment of the spacecraft. And we used an all-solid-state system except for one element, the transmitter, which was a tube, a traveling wave tube. But Tom developed all the solid-state electronics for us. So I didn't have any obstacles. I just asked Tom to do it, and he did it.
Well, how did you and Tom Hudspeth and Don Williams first team up for the SYNCOM project?
Well, actually, we had been working together previously in the radar department. We were part of the advanced development group in the radar department. So we were already together as a team. And as I said, when we lost the major radar program, and our boss asked me to think about diversifying, that's when we started working on the satellite.
Okay, it was just kind of a natural follow-on then.
Mm-hmm. Well, in the case of the communication satellite, a lot of the elements are similar to radars. I mean, they both have microwave transmitters, they both have microwave receivers, they both have antennas, so the communication equipment was not that different from the communication equipment used in radars.
Sure. What was the first commercial satellite stemming from SYNCOM?
The first commercial satellite was, we called it Early Bird. It was called Early Bird informally. It's officially called Intelsat 1. As a matter of fact, there are models of them right here. You can see how close they were. This was the SYNCOM, a model of SYNCOM. Mm-hmm. I don't know, and I'll show you for size comparison. Here's a standard man. You can see how small the satellites were.
Sure.
Tom and I were able to hold them in our arms. But this is the SYNCOM, and the first commercial satellite, which started a year or so later and was launched in 1965, is this one.
I see.
And you can see how closely related they are.
Very cool. Can you expand on the reason why? Is there a specific reason why you decided to stay here all the time?
Yeah, I enjoy working with Tom.
He's having a good time.
I know, as long as I've got Tom to fall back on, I'll never get into too deep a trouble.
Dr. Rosen, what would you say to young people to encourage them to study in the scientific disciplines?
Oh, my. Well, I guess I'd say that almost everything, all the inventions and all the great things for humanity are yet to be discovered, yet to be developed. There's an unlimited amount of things out there that they'll find extremely interesting.